Good afternoon and welcome to NYFP. In mid-afternoon trade, we're seeing that the major U.S. stock averages are all higher by 1%. Now I'm joined by Ben Willis of Sunrise Securities. Hi Ben, thanks for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Well, in today's trading session, the Eurozone has been in the focus, but the Fed does kick off its two-day meeting today, and we will be getting the rate decision tomorrow. Now, most economists as well as analysts do expect to see an Operation Twist, but what do you think really needs to happen for the U.S. to see any growth?
Well, I think there has to be something from the government, if you include the Fed in that. There has to be something in the government that goes directly to the unemployment. I don't think the program that President Obama has put forth is sufficient enough. I think there has to be something directed to the housing market. And I mean in the sense that mortgage rates are already at all-time, generational lows, below 5%. So there needs to be some motivation to clear the inventory and for people to go back to owning homes. But I don't think that's going to happen with Operation Twist. I don't quite understand how we can motivate the economy by driving short ends of the yield curve higher and the long end lower. It becomes that again tightens up the whole wheels of liquidity that we need on a day-to-day basis for businesses and the economies of the world to operate. So, I mean, I guess that's why he taught at Princeton and I didn't, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Ben, tomorrow afternoon at the conclusion of the Fed meeting, we will be getting the Fed rate decision at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time. How much of tomorrow's decision, as well as the accompanying statement, is already priced into the market?
Well, I don't think there's any expectation that the rates are going to change anytime soon. We've had a directive right from the Fed in their last meeting talking about a target date going back to 2013. I think the interest outside the explanation of the twist and if they're going to do something with that will be the voting members and who voted and who dissented. And that's become more and more interesting, but it's more of a melodrama to watch than any real impact so far. The question is if those dissenters have any impact on the what's going to be purchased in the twist. So that's really all we'll look for. Again, I would be hard pressed to have an explanation why the FOMC committee would tell us one thing about waiting till 2013 and then doing something at the next meeting. So that's just the way I see it.
Okay, Ben, last but not least, before we wrap it up, moving on over to the Eurozone, the Troika continued to discuss possible options, but we did see interesting price action in terms of the euro and equities. Although Italy was downgraded by S&P, we did see, given that risk was off earlier today, that equities and the euro came up. But how long do you think that'll last?
Well, I think it will last until there's some real productivity in how the ECB is going to handle countries that are at risk. I mean, I think the part of today's rally, what we saw, had to do with Greece rolling their debt. I mean, that'd be equivalent of us using another credit card to pay the other credit card bill that came due. There was one due today, so they floated another T-bill issue to pay that off. But in the terms of the bailout and the rescues, Greece is just one of the dominoes. There are a few others in that pack that we're going to have to deal with as time goes on, and this is, I guess, Greece is the test case, if you will, for all intents and purposes. But I don't see this going away anytime quickly until there is a rock-solid definition on how this is to be handled, whether it's an SIV created within the European Central Bank itself or individual countries will create SIVs for their own private banks. I don't know how it's going to play out. But until that happens, and with the VIX where it is, these kind of headlines will move us 100, 200 points any given day.
Okay, Ben, as always, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for weighing in on all these topics.
My pleasure.